Dance Dance Revolution, the hit video game craze that forced people to get up and move. It was absolutely everywhere in the early to mid 2000s, and for people like me, it was a way to gamify the awful chore of exercise. I was never very good at running, gymnastics, swimming, standing, sitting. My ankles are made of bendy straws, my knees have the structural fortitude of a pool noodle. However, for some reason, I have always had literal soccer calves, and soccer calves are the muscles you need to be truly wicked at DDR. I started playing every day after school in order to force myself to do some form of physical activity, and through everything, through having to unlock every song, through the failure and the pain, I developed an everlasting bond with the series. The franchise was one of the first to gamify exercise, a genre that has since exploded with the invention of new technologies, like Microsoft's Kinect and Nintendo's Ring Fit.
You might even break a sweat while playing.
These new games feature incredible immersion, building on the back of what DDR began. But there's something about DDR that keeps drawing me back in. This video is a personal retrospective about my own experience with the franchise. It's not going to go into depth about the different modes in each version, or try to rank these games definitively. This is me sharing my personal stories. And maybe it will encourage you to share yours as well, in the comments section. And maybe you'll also like the video, and subscribe. You know, who knows? First DDR game I had was Dance Dance Revolution Disney Mix, released as Dancing Stage Disney's Rave in Japan. I had the PS1 version bundled with one dance pad, but there was also a plug-and-play version available for sale at Disney's American parks, though it had a much smaller song list. Arcade cabinets were available to play for free at Epcot's Innoventions, a showcase for new and cutting-edge technology, though they vanished sometime during the mid-2000s. The song list included a lot of Eurobeat versions of classic Disney tunes, like the Mickey Mouse March, Zippity Doo-Dah, and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. A lot of these songs were pulled directly from the Disney Eurobeat album released in Japan in 2000. One of my favorites was Macho Duck, a Eurobeat remix of a song originally released on a Disney disco album in the late 70s based on Macho Man by the Village People.
Macho, Macho Duck. Oh, he is a manly sensation. Macho, Macho Duck.
Oh, he's a manly sensation. What I like about this game is that, while it was geared towards children, it's completely playable to this day. It has varying difficulties, and going back to revisit it doesn't make me feel like I'm playing baby's first DDR, unlike another game I'll feature later on in this list. It's solid. I love it. I treasure it. Moving on, I'd like to take a moment to mention another dancing game that isn't DDR. Is that cheating? I don't know. I make the rules.
Let's see what you got, Mancock. Get ready for our funny vultures dance.
Jungle Book Rhythm and Groove, created by Disney Interactive and Ubisoft in 2000. The version I had was for the PS1 and was bundled with one unbranded pink, purple, and yellow dance pad. I vividly remember playing this game for the first time at Innoventions in Epcot and received it as a gift soon after.
Welcome to the Jungle Book Rhythm and Groove. Before we start the game, let me tell you a few things to keep in mind while you play.
Why Jungle Book? The only reason I can think of is that it was made to correspond with the movie's 1999 DVD release, but even then, the game came out a whole year later. Jungle Book 2 wasn't released until 2003. The mystery deepens when you realize that Jungle Book, the movie, doesn't have enough songs to make a whole rhythm game, and it deepens even further when you know that a couple songs in the movie were not present in the game, but were replaced by original songs. For example, in the movie, Ka sings Trust in Me, but instead of choosing to remix that song into something more upbeat, developers gave Ka a new song. Unlike DDR games where you choose what song you want to play based in no particular order, the point of Jungle Book was to play through a story campaign. The goal of the game wasn't simply to hit the notes and make it to the end. It featured power-ups, a health bar, and boss battles. It also didn't feature the familiar directional arrows from DDR, as those are trademarked, but instead had two scrolling rows. The left column would have up or left arrows, and the right column would have down or right arrows. It's an interesting system, to be sure. Not super intuitive, but it worked. Not a great game, but fun for kids. It takes some very basic strategy to beat, and the songs could be much worse. They're still not great, but there was some effort put into it. Why Jungle Book, though?
Bring the bare necessities alive. Bring the bare necessities alive.
Hey, I did it!
Back to DDR, we left the PlayStation behind and we're now into the PS2 and DDR Extreme. This is, in my humble opinion, the best home release of DDR. The song list is just chef's kiss, just perfect. 3, 2, 1 stars, Kick the Can, Firefly, Pink Rose. I could go on and on about how much I love these tracks. I used to be able to do Maximizer on Heavy without making any mistakes.
Good! Keep on going!
Kick the Can is a good example of the kind of DDR song I like. Very minimal jumping, all really fast notes.
Grab my heart!
On a home dance pad, there's no back bar to make jumping easier. And remember, from the beginning, my knees are made of pool noodles, my ankles are made of straws. Jumping's hard. Jumping correctly in DDR has never been my forte, but anyone who has seen me go absolutely feral at Dave & Buster's Pump It Up machine knows that real fast notes, no problem. This is the version of DDR I had when I got into the series really hardcore. An initial draw was also the included iToy compatibility, which incorporated hand motions into the game, but the hit detection was too imprecise to make it worthwhile. Still, it's interesting to see just how early Konami tried to incorporate motion controls into their game, even though it would be a long time before they would try again, and when they finally did, it would already be too late for the franchise to catch up with everyone else.
100 combo!
Moving on to Dance Dance Revolution Extreme 2, this would be the last DDR game where I managed to unlock all of the songs, and doing so was an incredible slog. After playing an hour of Extreme every day for almost a year, going through the process of unlocking songs in Extreme 2 didn't give me the workout I was looking for. I found myself having to set aside time outside of my normal workout just to unlock songs. This wasn't a process I would be able to do again. That being said, Extreme 2 has some great songs, Boom Boom Dollar, Butterfly, and Cartoon Heroes, just to name a few. I haven't had a chance to replay this one recently, so my memory is incredibly fuzzy, but it's definitely a game that I want to track down and revisit, if only to make all those hours spent unlocking the songs feel worth it. Dance Dance Revolution Supernova is a perplexing game. The menu UI is bad, there isn't just an option to play an endless stream of songs. Selecting game mode will let you play one song and then boot you back to the main menu where you have to make numerous button presses before you can play another. In order to get a continuous stream of songs, you have to select workout mode, and if you have a very old PS2 like mine, and like every PS2 these days I guess, no matter how many times you create a profile with a memory card, it won't remember it. It's just incredibly frustrating to have to do so much to just play the game. That being said, Supernova's song list isn't bad. Piece by Beat for You is a solid J-pop jam, even if the chorus is pretty simple. Doll and True Love are good tracks as well, and Zephyr was the song that you always pick to impress your friends at parties because of the intense difficulty. However, this is the game where the cracks in the formula really started to form. There's always been licensed tracks in DDR games, but a lot of times they were heavily remixed or covered by a different artist entirely. With the inclusion of a lot more straight-up licensed tracks such as Dance Dance by Fall Out Boy, the series began to shift. The Eurobeat songs were always what set DDR apart for me, and honestly, it made it more accessible. I didn't like mainstream music. I still don't. DDR had introduced me to entirely new genres that felt more like myself. Suddenly, there was a whole chunk of tracks that I didn't want to touch. The game had become smaller for me, and at that point, I was done. Sales numbers for DDR home games started to drop soon after SUPERNOVA, gutted by the introduction of the Wii. With the Wii, Nintendo had introduced an entirely new way to play games and be active, a way that didn't require throwing a plastic dance pad on the floor every time you wanted to play. Wii games didn't involve a lot of stomping, making them more accessible to people in apartments, as well as those unable to do intense physical activity, like the elderly. Different publishers jumped on the new technologies, and in 2009, the first installation of the Just Dance series was released.
You know the beat is in our feet. It is where we are.
When I heard that Disney was collaborating on a new DDR game, I ran out to buy the bundle with the necessary gamepads, expecting to have a new entry to the series similar to Disney Mix. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Disney Mix was a game for everyone. Dance Dance Revolution Disney Grooves was not that. The shoddy incorporation of me-like avatars, the soulless expressions of the characters dancing alongside you, the jarringly bland, awful covers of Disney songs, not even good Disney songs. Hathi's March from the Jungle Book?
That's the way to pick 'em.
Who likes the Jungle Book this much? Whose favorite Jungle Book song is Hathi's March? I recently sold this game at a used game store and warned the employee that the songs were bad. He took the game out of the box, hooked it up, and began to test it. I watched as the expression on his face fell, his half-hearted jumps to test the dance pad fueled only by a desire to be done with the whole thing. Once the song was over, he turned to me with a sad, dead look on his face. I got $15 for the trade-in. I played Disney Grooves only a couple times in the 10 years I had it. After that, I went off to college, moved out, and inexplicably, DDR games continued to be released, including more on the Wii. And then the series died, at least in the home market. With the gross mismanagement of the franchise by Konami, it's been almost 10 years since the release of a new console version of DDR. It's a concept that can only be modernized so far, a technology that involves plopping down a garish plastic mat in the middle of your living room every day in order to play. Plastic mats hurt your feet, they slide all over the floor, and the lack of the back bar makes tricky moves really difficult. 1-inch foam pads are slightly better, but they add the risk of crunching your toes if you step off the side, or even falling because you've lost your balance. Metal pads are expensive, and they're always just sitting in your living room. Most of them don't even come with a back bar, so what's the point? DDR is sometimes difficult to love, but I can remember a time when it was the biggest craze, especially among social outcasts like myself. And it will always be important to me.
First stage. Are you ready?